He's back.
You are Locked On Saints, your daily New Orleans Saints podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is good, Who Dat Nation and Who Dat family? I am your host, your friend, Ross Jackson, and on today's episode, Alvin Kamara, the New Orleans Saints running back, is back for at least the 2026 season. We'll take a look at how that impacts the New Orleans Saints offense as a whole, but we're going to start today with the simple fact that this is the way that it should have always been. We got all that and still a little bit of lanyard for you on this emergency episode. So let's get into it. Yeah, this is the way that it should have been from the very beginning. When it comes to the Alvin Kamara situation, I want to give credit where credit's due. Nick Underhill, Tron Armstead, these were the guys that were out there at New Orleans Football and the set that put the news out there that they were finalizing a deal. Mike Garafolo, NFL Network, reported that the deal was done. And so we'll see what the deal is. Nick did mention that it would be a reduced deal, which makes sense. So we're actually watching to see if the number from the $11+ million cap hit ends up actually coming down. I think that's going to be the expectation there. And so we'll see where things go. This was, I'm sure, an arduous, long conversation, but it was a conversation that really, like, the impetus for it could have been figured out a long time ago. It was so clear and has been so clear, and I've been saying this from the very beginning, the New Orleans Saints are a better football team with Alvin Kamara and Travis Etienne Jr. than they are without Alvin Kamara. It's pretty simple. And the Saints wanted to go through, they wanted to figure out, what does this look like? What is the role? What are they comfortable with? All those other things. And then once they figured out the role, you got to figure out and make sure that the contract is going to be commensurate with the role. This is one of those processes that probably feels like it could have moved faster, but then there's all these like levers and bells and whistles and the previous restructure of Alvin Kamara's contract at an earlier point this offseason, which was already massively complicated with the 50% rule and all these other things that made things probably all the more challenging. And there's likely a lot of logistical reasons for why this took until July 15th to get done. But the fact of the matter is that this is the way that it should have been from the very, very beginning. It was very clear that Alvin Kamara should have had a role on this offense. And it was very clear that the Saints were right to say, hey, that role is reduced and therefore so too should be the contract. But what matters now is that it is all said and done. Alvin Kamara, Travis Etienne Jr., that's your running back room, or at least the top of your running back room going into 2026. We'll see if it's Devin Neal, Audric Estime, Kendre Miller, if it's CJ Donaldson, if it's Ty Chandler, who brings immense special teams value. We'll see who the other backs are that kind of fill all that out. But your lead backs are very clear. Travis Etienne Jr., and I'm saying this on purpose. I'm saying this very clearly. Travis Etienne Jr. and then Alvin Kamara. That's just based on everything that the Saints have shown us when it came to the offseason practices as well as minicamp, all that stuff, to where it was when Etienne and Kamara were both there at the same time, whether it was individual drills or otherwise. Etienne was the first guy in the rotation. Alvin Kamara was the second guy in the rotation. This is why it was important to get the contract redone and figure out how to make the money commensurate with the role and all these other things. And so now that that is all settled, we know what this running back room is going to look like, at least at the top of it. Now, you have two backs that can win outside the tackles. You have a Travis Etienne Jr. that's been really explosive inside the tackles. You have two guys that can catch and run routes out of the backfield. You have a guy like Alvin Kamara that you can now also line up in the slot, line up out wide, motion out wide, motion into the slot. There's so many different things that you can do with that. We'll have our squad show go up a little bit later. You're going to hear Lance Moore talking a little bit about a personnel grouping called Pony 21, which is two running backs and one tight end. But a lot of times in NFL circles or within the league itself, 21, two running backs, one tight end reference is actually a running back and a fullback. Ponies are smaller than horses, two running backs as opposed to a running back and a fullback. So a lot of those, I think, could be in the future for Kellen Moore, who hasn't really run those two running back sets a ton throughout his career. He will now have the opportunity here in New Orleans because unlike the Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott, or the Ezekiel Elliott and Rico Dowdle, or the Joshua Kelly and Austin Eckler, and the Saquon Barkley and Kenneth Gainwell pairings that he has worked with in the past. I'm shocked I named all of those. None of those players had the ability or capability to do what it is that Alvin Kamara can do, which is motion out wide and run a route as a wide receiver, motion into the slot or start in the slot and run a route from the slot. And so now all of a sudden, here's a new wrinkle that Kellen Moore can incorporate into the offense with Travis Etienne Jr. and Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara's representation putting out a statement through Mike Garafolo over at NFL Network that this gives Alvin Kamara I'm paraphrasing. This gives Alvin Kamara the opportunity to do what it is that he's always wanted to do, which is retire as a New Orleans Saint, finish his career in New Orleans. We'll see if 2026 is the final piece to that puzzle and the final chapter in that story, or if there's a 2027 ahead. We'll continue to see more details on that contract trickle in. We've seen the Saints in the past, and look, that contract might be, this is all going to move very quickly, so that contract might be out already, so we might already be answering the question. But we've seen this with, let's say, Demario Davis and Tyrann Mathieu, another good example as well, of the Saints reducing cap hit by reworking a contract, but then adding an extra year on the deal, kind of a trade-off, right? Hey, a little bit less money this year, but now you've got an extra year guaranteed on your deal. Could they end up doing the same thing with Alvin Kamara for 2027 when his contract is expected to expire here, or at least void after 2026? We'll see exactly how it all works out. But whether Alvin Kamara is in New Orleans for another year or another 2 years or another 3 years, we'll find out. But if nothing else, there's the opportunity here for Alvin Kamara now to be able to finish his career in New Orleans, which is something that he has always said that he has wanted to do. I have asked him that question point blank a number of times in a number of scrums, and he has always been consistent in giving the same answer, that he wants to retire as a New Orleans Saint. Now he is one step closer to getting that done, now that this months-long not fiasco, but kind of months-long like scenario situation navigation is finally complete. Alvin Kamara will be a New Orleans Saint in 2026 and will partner with Travis Etienne Jr. in the backfield. And that's what I want to get to next. What does this mean for the New Orleans Saints offense? Well, it means that the Saints offense now has a very, very dynamic pair of running backs solidified in their backfield. We'll discuss what that can look like, how Kellen Moore can utilize them, and first, how it impacts quarterback Tyler Shough. Let's get to that next. We continue on with today's episode of Locked On Saints, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Saints is brought to you by our friends over at Square. If you are a business owner, you know how it can be sometimes, whether you're selling lattes or you're cutting hair, or maybe you're dealing with a packed game day spot, whatever it might be, you want to make sure that you are making sure that your business is running without running yourself into the ground. That is where a platform like Square comes in, because it's a platform that's going to work behind the scenes for so many businesses that you already know and love, all bringing everything together in one connected system to take payments, manage inventory, run payroll, and much more. Square Online, folks that are businesses that are using it, end up earning 36% more revenue on average. So you win just like your customers do. I love when I go somewhere, Square's there. I know it's safe. I can tap and then get moving and get going. So if you want to check them out, you can, because right now you can get up to $200 off of Square hardware by heading over to square.com/go/lockedonnfl. That's SQUARE.com/GO/LOCKEDONNFL. Run your business smarter with Square. Get started today. The New Orleans Saints offense is better with Alvin Kamara involved, and now all of a sudden has every single piece that it needs to be able to consistently, constantly, and effectively support quarterback Tyler Shough. We appreciate you very much for being here for this emergency episode of Locked On Saints. If you want this kind of stuff, ad-free, interruption-free, come and check us out over in the Everydayer Club. $5 a month, $4.99. You get it for 7 days free. To start, head over to lockedonsaints.supercast.com to learn more, or you can click the link in the description as well. Alvin Kamara is back. This was a big thing that I think the New Orleans Saints absolutely needed. When I say that the Saints now have everything that they need to be able to consistently and effectively support their young quarterback, here's what I mean by that. Chris Olave is on the field. Jordyn Tyson's on the field. Devaughn Vele is on the field. The Saints decide, you know what, want to go 12 personnel with 2 tight ends. Okay, well, you got to take one of those guys off the field. So either you've got Chris Olave and Devaughn Vele, or you've got Chris Olave and Jordyn Tyson, more likely, or you've got Jordyn Tyson and Devaughn Vele in some situations. Great red zone pairing right there, for instance. Then you add in Noah Fant, Juwan Johnson, maybe a little bit of Oscar Delp, probably less Oscar Delp early in the season, much more Oscar Delp probably later in the season. When you swap out these players, you're hearing a lot of names that don't make you go, ooh, right? Cringe, right? That's the big thing that I think is really, it's kind of eye testy. It's not overly analytical. It's not super smart. It's just you and me talking, all right? It's just you and me talking here. There is something about what the New Orleans Saints are building that makes their rotation not at all cringeworthy, that I think is worth noting. Whether you've got Devaughn Vele or Jordyn Tyson on the field, Chris Olave or Jordyn Tyson, or Chris Olave and Jordyn Tyson on the field, Juwan Johnson on the field, Oscar Delp on the field, Noah Fant on the field. I'll give some love to Maliki Matavao as well. You put in now Travis Etienne Jr., and then you go behind that. If Travis Etienne Jr.'s got to come off the field, cool. You're going to Alvin Kamara. There's no cringe. Ooh, oh, I wonder what they're going to do. Oh, man, he hasn't been on the field yet. Oh, man, not the same. Oh, what a drop off. There's no conversation like that in this New Orleans Saints offense. The Saints all of a sudden have built a really deep stable of weapons. Is it perfect? No NFL team is perfect. They're not built to be perfect. You're built to be better than your limitations. But the Saints sure have reduced limitation when it comes to having to go, heavy air quotes, having to go to the next guy. I didn't even mention Jalen Polk and Bryce Lance, Barryon Brown, and all these other guys that have the ability to be able to continue to develop. I will raise my hand as a Kevin Austin Jr. truther. I just think that there are these guys now that this New Orleans Saints offense has that do what it is that the Saints have talked about trying to do for so long, which is mitigate drop-off from one player to the next. And everything that we have seen about the New Orleans Saints and the way that they have operated over the course of this offseason is that Travis Etienne Jr. is the top running back, first in the rotation, first in the drills, first in blah, blah, blah. And then Alvin Kamara is right after that. Now, that might mean that Travis Etienne Jr. sees 50% of the snaps. Alvin Kamara sees 40% of the snaps, and then the rest of the guys split 10% of the snaps, right? Doesn't mean that there has to be a massive disparity between the two, and there should be some overlapping in terms of those 21 personnel, those 2 running back looks, in terms of how you utilize those guys as well, because of Alvin Kamara's diverse skill set, and to be fair, Travis Etienne Jr.'s diverse skill set as well. So now, when 6 goes to the line, Tyler Shough, and he looks around, looks at his position group, and he looks at his players that are out there, and he goes, oh, okay, well, I've got Chris over there. I've got Jordyn over there. I've got Juwan here. And, oh, Travis is, yeah, they sub Travis out, but now I've got, who's that? Oh, that's just Alvin Kamara, the best running back in New Orleans Saints history. Pretty good situation to be in. When you're talking about trying to support your young quarterback, this is a great way to do it. And so now, all of a sudden, the New Orleans Saints, who have built at wide receiver, who have built depth at tight end, and not just depth, but like a depth of impact players, not just backups, but like a depth of impact players at wide receiver, a depth of impact players at tight end. The Saints now have a depth of impact players at running back solidified, because Alvin Kamara is a part of this team in 2026, in case you missed it. So now you're able to build this run game with Travis Etienne Jr. and Alvin Kamara, who have a lot of overlap. There's a big Venn diagram there in terms of things they can do. Keeps your offense less predictable in that way, right? You can kind of flow with these zone runs with both of these guys. You have the contact balance with both these guys. You have the elusiveness with both these guys, especially with Travis Etienne Jr. now, who brings some of the best elusive numbers missed tackles, forced broken tackles, yards after contact, all that to New Orleans than they have had in recent years, where Alvin Kamara has been present. But now you have an Alvin Kamara that can be utilized a little bit more efficiently, and he doesn't have to be the bell cow workhorse back. He can be the change of pace, win in space type of back. It puts him into the realm of what it is that a guy like Kellen Moore has talked about a number of times, which is how do you put your players in position to do what it is that they do best? Well, now Alvin Kamara will be able to be put in position to do what it is that he do best. And I think that that's a good situation for him, right? He's also a player that's dealt with some injuries over the course of the past few years. Lighten the load and then maximize what it is that he'll be able to do by utilizing him efficiently as opposed to running it into the ground. And so now you have the opportunity to avoid doing that by giving a heavy dose of Travis Etienne Jr. You also have Devaughn Vele. You also have the potential of Kendre Miller. You've got Audric Estime. You've got Ty Chandler. You've got CJ Donaldson. You have these other running backs you can also filter in and all that. But for the most part, what you have now done is, just like you've deepened your impact at wide receiver, deepened your impact at tight end, you have now confirmed that you have, right? Because they signed Travis Etienne Jr. and we were ready to do it, but you had to figure out what the future of Alvin Kamara was going to be. Now that they've done that, you have confirmed the deepening of the impact player in your backfield as well. And so the drop-off is not so severe, or the concerns around a potential drop-off now no longer severe. So the impact for your young quarterback, who now gets to look around and go, oh, I'm good here. Let's roll. They can now focus on that and do that. Kellen Moore now all of a sudden has this expansive menu of things that he's going to be able to do, whether it's run outside the tackles, inside the tackles, run gap, run zone, run man, throw routes out of the backfield, throw screen passes to the wide receivers, or throw screen passes to the halfbacks, right? There's a lot now of these kind of new things and expansive things that the Saints will be able to do. Like Kellen Moore can now really get in his bag about how it is that you magnify or maximize the usage of Travis Etienne Jr., the usage of Alvin Kamara, and in some cases, the usage of both of them. And so I think that that's going to be something else that's going to be super fun to watch. We'll begin to watch them piece that together here in a matter of 2 weeks for training camp, but we will also really see this all come to fruition throughout the season. Finally, the last kind of big thing is just the impact on the offense as a whole. And this is one of those situations where we talk about the ripple effects of impact from a singular spot. The New Orleans Saints are one of the worst first half teams in the NFL last year, and they were, percentage-wise, in terms of converting red zone possessions into touchdowns, the worst, right? Last in the NFL, 44.4%. Red zone, 2 touchdown teams in the NFL. Now you have a player like Alvin Kamara back and confirmed that always has been very effective in the red zone. And in fact, in those seasons where he had like 17, 18 total touchdowns on the year, the majority of those touchdowns came in the red zone. Being able to run the football in the red zone is a good thing. Now you can do that with Travis Etienne Jr., and you have a little bit of a fresher, lesser overly utilized running back in Alvin Kamara to be able to rotate in and be able to utilize in that way as well. And you also have a 6'5" Devaughn Vele, who caught 81.8% of his contested catches last year, a Chris Olave that is a fantastic route runner in the red zone, a Jordyn Tyson, who's a fantastic separator in the red zone, Juwan Johnson, who's a fantastic weapon in the red zone, as is Noah Fant. And so now you kind of get to build all of this around. So now you get into some of these situations where the Saints maybe struggled early in games. Well, now you have a run game that can support that can pick up yards after contact, that can stay on the football field. And now you have those red zone opportunities that you typically only were able to turn in for 3 points. You now a step closer to turn them in for 7 points. The Saints have helped themselves massively by keeping Alvin Kamara around. Is Alvin Kamara going to have a 10 touchdown season? No, probably not. Does he need to have a 10 touchdown season? Also, no, he doesn't. But now you're able to keep the drop-off manageable. You have built an offense with a lot of weapons, depth at skilled positions to be able to help support your young quarterback. And you now given your head coach just a litany of toys to be able to utilize over the course of the regular season. With training camp on the way, we'll start to watch how Kellen Moore does exactly that. So Alvin Kamara is back for 2026, the way that it should have always been. Good for him. And hopefully he gets his opportunity to finish out his career here in New Orleans as well. All right, coming up in tomorrow's episode, we thank you very much for being here with us for this emergency show. We'll be back still with a fresh episode tomorrow morning as we start taking a look at that exact thing that I was talking about earlier. Just how much did the Saints struggle early in games, and what did it mean for them, and what have they done to fix it? We'll break into all of that over the course of our next 30-minute show tomorrow morning. We appreciate you very much as always. Make it a part of your day, part of your routine for saying yes to me and the show. If you see me, please say hi. If you need anything else around your New Orleans Saints in between these episodes, make sure you follow me on your favorite social media at Ross Jackson, NOLA. Hit me up. Learn how the family's doing, how you living. Let me know how your mom and them. And trust you, that nation. I'll holla at you.